Hello and welcome, people. It's me, TV, and this is going to be a transfer summary from the Bundesliga and from Bayern Munich. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to just focus on the title contenders, the ones that I think are actually going to be able to keep up with us for most of the part of the season, which is Wolfsburg, Dortmund, and Leverkusen. I think those three teams will be the three teams that will be chasing us, and the three teams that will really be trying to get at us. So I'm going to start with Wolfsburg just because I have the list right here of all the transfers ins and outs. And I think the main transfers outs were Aaron Hunt, Perisic, obviously, and De Bruyne. I think those are the three that you really look at, and those were players that often played for them. Aaron Hunt, he was just mainly a squad player, the same as Ivan Perisic. So you have two squad players essentially being out, getting sold to Hamburg and Inter. And then you have Kevin De Bruyne, who left to Manchester City. Now, Kevin De Bruyne will be the big miss, but Wolfsburg bought Julian Draxler, who's supposed to take over from Kevin De Bruyne. He always wanted to play in the middle, so now this will be basically Julian Draxler's time to play in the middle. Is he going to be able to really fill that void for Kevin De Bruyne? That Kevin De Bruyne left. Now, looking at Kevin De Bruyne's matches for this season, he hasn't actually been that great. So, there's not much that he has to replace for this season. But, what Kevin De Bruyne are we going to see for Wolfsburg? Are we going to see Kevin De Bruyne from last year, essentially, when he was injured, and then when he came back, he was just kind of useless? Or are we going to see the Kevin De Bruyne that, from 2 years ago, who was the most highly talented youngster, the highly rated youngster? If we see that kind of De Bruyne, if we see that kind of Draxler, I think that Wolfsburg will be a definite title challenger. But it depends what kind of Draxler we'll see. Next up, they also got Dante from us. It'll be interesting to see. I was watching Spox today on their YouTube channel, and they had an interview, obviously in German, but they had an interview with Dante. And with they had an interview with Dante, and it was like, yeah, we've got 3 Brazilians now. So we got me, we've got Naldo, and we've got obviously Luis Gustavo. So as long as we don't do skills and whatnot, we'll be fine. As long as we don't do samba at the back, we'll be fine. So it'll be interesting to see how this Brazilian defense holds up. And I actually think this Brazilian defense is better than the Dante and David Luiz partnership that they had at the World Cup. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they'll play, if Dante will perform or not. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on Dante, so that will be interesting for me. But overall, I think that Wolfsburg, obviously they also got Max Kruse, but that was obviously earlier, and I think that they've really got a team that on paper should be able to challenge us throughout the whole season. But it's just they just had a bad start, so if they're able to keep it up, for the rest of the season, then it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Wolfsburg will definitely be dangerous. Next up, we have I'll start with Leverkusen. Now they've got a player. Yeah, if you guys remember my Bundesliga preview that I did on my channel, I said that I think Leverkusen need another striker, somebody like Chicharito, Javi Hernandez from Manchester United. I actually said the same thing for Wolfsburg as well. I thought that Wolfsburg need a striker like Chicharito, because back then he was actually linked. They were actually linked with Javier Hernandez, but now that Leverkusen has got him, I think they're going to be a serious threat. Just because I don't actually rate, I don't actually rate Kiesling that high. I know people say that Kiesling, he's a consistent goal scorer that scores consistent goals every year, but I just don't rate him highly. I think he's basically just he is a fighter. Basically, he's a fighter, but he's got no skills in terms of positioning and stuff, any kind of those kind of skills. He's just really a fighter that wants to get the ball. That's the only thing. But with Javi Hernandez, they've got someone that is quick, that is good with the ball, and that can score goals. So they've got a perfect player for in my opinion, and it's someone that actually does a lot of work as well. So he'll fit perfectly into the Leverkusen team. So I think they've got a serious addition here. Kevin Campbell from Borussia Dortmund as well. It'll be interesting to see how he performs, just because he was great with Salzburg, but he hadn't been great with Dortmund. And it'll be interesting to see if Schmidt can bring him back to his former glory, quote unquote. So it'll be interesting to see how Kevin Campbell does. Charles Aranguiz, obviously he came. Everyone was hyped. Everyone was like, okay, they're going to be serious threat, and then he got injured straight away. It's like out for 6 months or so. So I feel sorry for him, but what right now Wolfsburg. I keep saying Wolfsburg. Right now Leverkusen with Kramer as well. They've got Kramer who runs a lot and Bender who works a lot. So you've got two kind of the midfielders that work well together. And when Charles Arangis comes back, they've got depth as well. Jonathan Tah, I think he was the best player for Leverkusen in the first leg against Lazio. And I think for his age, I think he's like 19 years old. He is one of the best defenders there is in the Bundesliga, and I think maybe in like 2 years or so he'll get a call up to the national team and be a regular member because I think he's that good. So yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Papadopoulos, he's all right. I think he's too. I think he's too aggressive for the central back. You need to be aggressive, but you also need to know when not to be aggressive, and I don't think Papadopoulos does that really well. Mehmedi, I think he's going to be the biggest addition just because they've lost Son and Robbie Kruse. So I think that, Mehmedi, it'll be interesting to see how he fits in, but up to now he's been actually really good. So he'll be a really nice addition to the team. And I think that overall the team, they've got probably the second best team in the Bundesliga in my opinion. Maybe the third best team, but I think overall in terms of balance, I think they've got the second best team. And I do think Leverkusen are going to do great things this season. I think it's going to be Leverkusen, Wolfsburg, Dortmund, and us obviously that are going to fight for the title for the Bundesliga this whole season. Next up, we have Dortmund. Now Dortmund, they just got Januzaj from Manchester United on loan. According to Bill, they can't actually buy him. But according to Ruhrnachrichten, which is basically the most reliable newspaper when it comes to Dortmund, they do have an option to buy him. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got a number 9. He's just basically a squad player right now. And it'll be interesting to see how he does. They also got Juho Park, who was a player that, what's his name? That, what's the coach called right now? That Tuchel had when he was at Mainz. So he knows all about him. And they know each other's tactics, so it'll be interesting to see how he fits in. I don't think he's going to be that great of a player, but I'm going to let myself be surprised. Roman Bürki, for me, the biggest addition to their team, just because Weidenfeller, he's been really awful for the last 2 years. Gonzalo Castro, good player. I think I actually feel sorry for him, just because he was expecting Gundogan to leave, and when Gundogan didn't leave, he basically now needs to find a starting spot, so that's going to be difficult for him. Julian Weigl, who is from 1860 Munich, and my friend, not my friend, but more like my, I don't know if he's an uncle, it's sort of like an uncle, but anyway, my uncle, let's just call him my uncle. He is basically, he's an 1860 fan, and he was like, oh yes, another 1860 player playing in the first Bundesliga, and I was like, okay, so who cares? It's 1860, nobody cares. And it was like, oh, Weigl, now he's basically number 1 Weigl fanboy. And I have to say, after watching Weigl play for Dortmund, I have to say this kid is quality. He's 19 years old, I think, and he's one of the best midfielders I've seen in a long time. That's how good he is. So Dortmund, they've really done great with him. They've really got a great player with him, so they're doing well. And Hoffmann is back. He's going to be great as well. I think, they've got a lot of young players and as well as a lot of established players already. So they've got players that can keep coming on, players that can keep playing as squad players. So it's great for them. But on the outs, Blaszczykowski has gone to Fiorentina on a loan, which I think is understandable because he hasn't been great lately. He's like after he returned from injury, he hasn't been that great lately. And with Kagawa, with Mkhitaryan, with Hoffmann, with Royce, with Aubameyang, all kind of being able to play at his position on the right wing. Let him on loan so he actually gets some playing time. Let him find his form back, and if he finds his form back, he comes back. Basically, it's that's how easy it is. Oliver Kirch has gone to Paderborn. He wasn't really a starter in the first place anyway, so it's not like he's going to be a massive loss to them. Next up, Kevin Campbell. He hasn't worked out for Dortmund, so him going to Leverkusen is going to be interesting to see how that goes. Shiro Immobile, he didn't really work for them, let's face it. He's on Sevilla on a loan, but he's most likely not going to come back just because the way that the things that he says about Dortmund and how they just didn't treat him right or whatever. He's not going to come back. I can't see that happening. Milo Zojic, I'm actually kind of sad that he went to Cologne. Well, in English, Cologne. Just because when when he first joined, it was like, you know, he did really well, but then last year when none of the players really did well, he didn't do well either. So I feel it's kind of harsh for him to leave, but it is what it is. And Mitch Langerack, which, you know, if they got Roman Bürki, he wanted to leave, which is understandable. You know, he's been there for a long time and he still hasn't gotten a chance, and now they've got a new keeper, so he's not going to have a chance at all. Anyway, so Dortmund for me have the third best squad in the Bundesliga. As I mentioned, I think Leverkusen have the second best squad in terms of balance. Dortmund for me, I think the defense is lacking a little, but you know, like the wing backs position, the left back and the right back. But Dortmund with Tuchel, you know, and they've got better individual quality than Leverkusen, but in terms of actual whole squad, I think Leverkusen has the second best team. But I think Dortmund, with the individual quality and the overall great squad, that they will be able to, you know, fight with us. I think they're going to be our closest competitors, because, you know, the way they're playing right now is just unbelievable. You know, they've won, they're top of the table right now, which says it a lot, but only by goal difference, but they're still top of the table. So it'll be interesting to see the match against Dortmund, like Bayern Munich against Dortmund. Just because I think that will decide the title. Those two matches will essentially decide the title. So for me, you know, that's going to be interesting to see. But let's go on to Bayern Munich. We, in my opinion, have had the best transfer window that we've had in probably 3 to 4 years. So we Dante left to Wolfsburg. Højbjerg is on loan to Schalke. Bastian Schweinsteiger to Manchester United. Pepe Reina, Napoli. Mitch Weiser, Berlin, Hertha Berlin, and, you know, Xherdan Shaqiri to Inter. But that's about it. And Claudio Pizarro, obviously, he left as well. Now, the ins is obviously Kingsley Coman from Juventus on a 2-year loan, which I think is going to be great just because he gives extra squad depth in an area that we didn't have that much depth, which is the wing position. Arturo Vidal from Juventus, who, with him in midfield, Lahm will often play right back, so we have a right back position as well. Douglas Costa, what is there to say? Douglas Costa is, for me, the signing of the season. Douglas Costa is amazing. Sven Ulreich, we need a third keeper with Pepe Reina leaving, so we've got Sven Ulreich. Joshua Kimmich, for me, he's going to be one of the biggest talent. For me, he is one of the biggest talents. Although he's 21, he's not really a talent, but for me, he's one of the best young players out there. I think he needs more time as well, and he's going to naturally take over Alonso in like 1 or 2 years for me, because they're kind of similar players. Jan Kirchhoff, yeah, he's returned, but is he gonna get much, you know, playing time? I don't think so. He wasn't able to, you know, he wasn't able to establish a place with Schalke, so is he gonna be able to establish a place with us? I highly doubt that. And last but not least, Julian Green, who'll play for the second team. Now, for me, we've had the best transfer window just because we've had Kingsley Coman, Douglas Costa, who will be for the wings, or we've got extra depth in the wings. We've got Arturo Vidal, who'll play in midfield, who's the kind of player that Pep wanted originally, with originally Schweinsteiger to kind of play as, but obviously Schweinsteiger with his knees and whatnot, he wasn't able to quite perform that. But now with Arturo Vidal being more physical and able to press more, he'll be able to play Lahm at right back position a lot more, which we've already seen at this season. Lahm has played pretty much, I think, all games at right back. You know, obviously not a whole game, but most of the game at right back. And for many Bayern fans, this is a good thing because Lahm is the best right back in the world. It's just the way it is. So yeah, we've had a great transfer window. For me, the most important thing right now, though, is for the second team, for them to get promoted to the third league, just because there is a huge difference between, you know, the Bayern Liga and you know, the third league, and I think that we need to actually get to the third league, so then we'll have better youth players in the future. And that's what I think. We need to get to the third league. Our second team needs to get to the third league, and once that happens, I think we'll have a great, you know, we'll have great talents coming through every year from then. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to be our closest competitors, and who do you think is going to be our closest challengers for the title? As always, this was me, TV. Rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Peace out, and have a nice day.